The message came on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, the scientists at the Global Space Communications Center thought their equipment was malfunctioning. The signal was too clear, too perfect to be natural. As the computers decoded the transmission, the room fell silent. To the primitive species of Sol 3, designated as humans, the message began. Your existence has been noted by the Dominion of Advanced Species. Your continued independent development is deemed unacceptable. Submit to our rule within one planetary rotation, or face immediate consequences. Admiral James Walker stood before the United Earth Council, his weathered face showing no fear as he read the message aloud. The chamber, usually filled with political debates and endless discussions, was dead quiet. 50 years of world peace had made humanity comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. They're giving us 24 hours to surrender our entire planet, Walker said, his deep voice steady. I say we show them what happens when you try to bully 8 billion humans. The council members looked at each other. Some showed fear, others anger, but most displayed determination. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and its own destructive nature. They wouldn't bow to aliens, no matter how advanced they claimed to be. Send our response, said Council President Thomas Green. Keep it simple. Walker nodded and spoke into the global communication system. This is Earth. Our answer is no. The response came faster than anyone expected. Red dots appeared on the global defense screens as hundreds of alien ships emerged from what looked like tears in space. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Multiple objects detected entering Earth's atmosphere, shouted the defense operator. They're targeting coastal cities. Walker watched in horror as the first energy beams struck. San Francisco's famous bridge vanished in a flash of light. Miami's coastline erupted in a series of explosions. Sydney's harbor boiled as alien weapons turned the water to steam. But humanity wasn't defenseless. Years of preparing for potential threats meant Earth had weapons ready. Defense satellites activated, firing railguns at the alien ships. Most shots bounced off their advanced shields, but a few got through, proving the aliens weren't invincible. Launch everything we have, Walker ordered. Show these bastards that Earth doesn't go down without a fight. Military bases worldwide responded. Missiles filled the sky, nuclear submarines launched their payloads from beneath the waves, and fighter jets scrambled to engage the alien craft. It wasn't enough to win, but it was enough to surprise the attackers. One alien ship, hit by multiple impacts, spiraled down and crashed in the Arizona desert. Another took heavy damage over Russia and retreated. It wasn't a victory, but it proved something crucial. The Dominion could bleed. As the first day of war ended, humanity had lost 12 major cities and millions of lives. But they had also learned valuable lessons. The aliens were powerful but not unstoppable. Their attacks followed patterns. Their technology could be damaged. In the underground command center, Walker reviewed the battle data. They expected us to surrender at the first sign of their power, he said to his gathered staff. Instead, we bloodied their nose. Now we need to show them why picking a fight with humans was their biggest mistake. A young officer handed him a report from the crash site in Arizona. Sir, our scientists say the alien technology is advanced but understandable. We can learn from this. Walker smiled for the first time that day. Then let's give them an education in human persistence. Send word to every research facility. I want weapons that can hurt these bastards. And tell our people the truth. We're at war, but we're not beaten. Not even close. As night fell over a changed Earth, millions of survivors looked up at the stars with new eyes. The aliens had wanted to instill fear. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous: human determination. The Dominion would soon learn that humanity didn't just fight wars. When pushed, they delivered hell. 2 weeks after the first attack, Dr. Robert Miller stood in the middle of the Arizona desert, staring at the crashed alien ship. The morning sun beat down on the research camp as dozens of scientists worked around the wreckage. Each piece they studied told them more about their enemy. "Look at this," he called out to his team, pointing at what appeared to be the ship's power core. "They don't use nuclear power or fossil fuels. This is something entirely different." The research team had been working day and night, trying to understand the alien technology. Every discovery brought a mix of awe and hope. The Dominion ships were advanced, but they weren't magic. They could be understood, and what could be understood could be defeated. Meanwhile, in orbit, another battle raged. Earth's remaining satellites captured the footage of 3 human spacecraft being torn apart by a single Dominion vessel. Admiral Walker watched the feed from the underground command center, his fists clenched. "Play it again," he ordered. "There's something we're missing." The footage repeated. This time, Walker noticed something odd. When the human ships used their conventional weapons, missiles and bullets, the alien shields seemed to flicker more than when they used energy weapons. "Get me Dr. Miller," Walker commanded. "I think we found something." In the desert lab, Miller received the footage. His team spent hours analyzing it, comparing it to their studies of the crashed ship. The revelation hit them like a thunderbolt. "Their shields," Miller explained to Walker over the secure line. "They're designed to stop advanced energy weapons. But simple kinetic weapons, they have trouble with those. They never expected to fight someone who still used such primitive weapons." Walker's eyes lit up. "You're telling me that all their advanced technology has a weakness to good old-fashioned bullets?" "Better than that," Miller replied. "Their entire defense system is built around stopping energy attacks. They're vulnerable to physical impacts. The bigger, the better." The next Dominion attack came 3 days later. They targeted the military base near Mount Rushmore, expecting the same desperate defense they'd seen before. Instead, they found something new. Earth's forces had modified their weapons. Instead of energy-based weapons that the aliens easily deflected, they launched thousands of tungsten rods, simple metal spears accelerated to incredible speeds. The alien shields flickered and failed under the barrage of primitive weapons. 3 Dominion ships fell from the sky that day. It wasn't a major victory, but it changed everything. Humanity had found its first real advantage. In the weeks that followed, every factory on Earth shifted production. Old designs were pulled out of storage. World War I-era battleship guns were modified for space combat. Rail guns were mounted on speedily constructed space platforms. The aliens responded with confusion, then anger. They weren't used to adapting their tactics. Their technology had made them arrogant, inflexible. "They think they're fighting a primitive species," Walker told his officers. "Let's use that against them. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Dr. Miller's team made another breakthrough studying the crashed ship's communication systems. The Dominion's entire military doctrine was based on overwhelming technological superiority. They had no strategies for fighting an enemy that used obsolete weapons effectively. "They've forgotten their own past," Miller explained in his report. "They've advanced so far that they've lost the ability to think simply. That's their weakness." Earth's factories worked around the clock, producing more primitive weapons. Each defeat taught humanity more about their enemy. Each victory gave them more captured technology to study. 1 month into the war, humanity had lost many battles, but they had learned how to fight back. The Dominion's perfect record of conquests was about to face its first real challenge. In his command center, Admiral Walker looked at the latest battle reports and allowed himself a small smile. "They wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy," he said. "Instead, they're about to learn why you don't corner a species that never learned how to give up." The learning curve had been steep and costly, but humanity was about to show the galaxy why simple solutions sometimes worked best. The battle for Mars began at dawn, Earth time. The Dominion had turned humanity's red neighbor into their forward base, confident that their superior technology would protect them. They didn't expect what came next. Dr. Miller stood in the newly built Space Command Center, watching as hundreds of small objects left Earth's orbit. To anyone else, they might have looked like space debris. In reality, they were humanity's newest weapons, simple tungsten rods equipped with basic guidance systems. Tungsten, Miller explained to Admiral Walker, who stood beside him. One of the hardest metals on Earth. No fancy electronics. No complex systems, just solid metal moving at incredible speeds. The Dominion's patrol ships noticed the approaching objects but dismissed them as space junk. Their sensors were calibrated to detect energy weapons, shields, and advanced technology. They weren't looking for what they considered primitive projectiles. That was their first mistake. When the rods struck, they hit with the force of small nuclear weapons. Their simple design meant they couldn't be hacked or jammed. Their tremendous speed made them nearly impossible to dodge. The Dominion's mighty shields, designed to stop energy weapons, might as well have been paper. Direct hits on multiple targets, the tactical officer reported. Enemy shields are failing. They're trying to reorganize. Walker watched as the Dominion fleet broke formation. Their ships, so elegant and advanced, suddenly looked clumsy as they tried to evade the rain of tungsten rods. 3 of their largest vessels were already splitting apart, their shields useless against the physical impact. Launch the second wave, Walker ordered. Let's show them what else we've learned. The second wave wasn't just tungsten rods. Humanity had been busy adapting their primitive weapons for space warfare. Modified naval guns, magnetic accelerators, and even simple chemical rockets, all technologies the Dominion had abandoned centuries ago, now proved devastatingly effective. In their arrogance, the Dominion had built their entire defense system around stopping weapons like their own. They never imagined they'd face an enemy who would use such basic weapons. They had no defense against humanity's outdated technology. On the main screen, Miller watched as a Dominion command ship tried to coordinate their defense. Its advanced energy weapons fired uselessly at the incoming projectiles, unable to stop simple pieces of metal moving at incredible speeds. "They're sending a transmission," the communications officer announced. They're asking for terms." The room fell silent. For the first time since the war began, the Dominion was asking for terms. Not offering them, asking for them. Walker stepped forward. "Tell them the terms are simple. Get out of our solar system." The Battle of Mars lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, the Dominion had lost 30 ships. Humanity had proven that their primitive weapons could do more than just defend Earth. They could take the fight to the enemy. In the aftermath, Dr. Miller's team examined the wreckage around Mars. Each destroyed ship provided new insights into Dominion technology. More importantly, they found proof that other alien species in the Dominion were watching this war with great interest. "Look at these communications logs," Miller told Walker, pointing to translated alien text. "Other species in the Dominion are questioning their leadership. They never expected us to fight back so effectively. Some are even suggesting that attacking Earth was a mistake." Walker nodded. "Good. Let them worry. Let them wonder what other surprises we have waiting." As Earth celebrated its first major victory, the factories kept working. More tungsten rods were produced. More ships were retrofitted with primitive weapons. Humanity had found its edge, and they intended to use it. In his private quarters, Walker looked at a photo of Earth taken from space. The Dominion's attacks had left scars on the planet, but they had also awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to turn disadvantage into advantage. "They thought our primitive technology made us weak," he said to himself. "Instead, it gave us exactly what we needed to hurt them. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The war was far from over, but the tide had turned. Humanity had delivered their message. "Underestimate us at your peril." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Commander Mike Thompson stood in the control room of the U.S. Silent Thunder, one of Earth's old nuclear submarines now modified for space combat. His crew worked quietly around him, maintaining the same discipline they had used under the waves. "Just like hunting other subs," Thompson told his crew. "Stay quiet, stay hidden, wait for the perfect shot." The Silent Thunder was no longer filled with water, but the submarine's design had proven perfect for space warfare. Its thick hull could handle the vacuum, and its stealth systems, designed to hide from sonar, worked surprisingly well against Dominion sensors. In orbit around Jupiter, a Dominion supply fleet moved forward, unaware they were being hunted. Their ships glowed with energy shields and powerful engines, making them easy to track. They had never learned the art of staying hidden. "Target locked," whispered the weapons officer. "All tubes ready." Thompson took a deep breath. "Fire." The Silent Thunder's modified torpedo tubes launched their new weapons, massive tungsten harpoons connected to the ship by thick metal cables. The simple weapon struck 3 Dominion ships before their sensors even detected danger. The cables went tight, and the submarine's powerful engines pulled. The alien ships, caught like fish on hooks, were yanked out of formation. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against the physical force. More submarines appeared from hiding, launching their own attacks. In the Space Command Center, Admiral Walker watched the battle through long-range sensors. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked. "None, sir," replied the tactical officer. "The Dominion still hasn't adapted to our stealth technology. They're too dependent on their active sensors." The success of Operation Deep Strike changed the war. Earth's old submarine fleets were quickly converted for space combat. Veterans of underwater warfare found their skills perfectly suited for space combat. The silent hunters of the deep became the silent hunters of space. Dr. Miller's team had made another breakthrough. They discovered that the Dominion ships relied heavily on automated systems. They had forgotten the value of human intuition, of split-second decisions made by experienced commanders. "Their ships are more advanced," Miller explained to Walker, "but their crews are too dependent on computers. They'd forgotten how to fight without perfect information." The Dominion's response to their losses showed their weakness. They sent larger fleets, used more powerful weapons, but never changed their tactics. They couldn't understand how primitive humans in converted submarines were defeating their advanced warships. Thompson's submarine fleet struck again and again. They attacked supply lines, ambushed patrols, and disappeared before the enemy could respond. The Dominion lost more ships in 1 month than they had in their last 3 wars combined. "We're not just fighting their ships," Walker told his commanders. "We're fighting their pride. Every defeat makes them angry, makes them sloppy. They can't accept that they're losing to primitives." The turning point came when 3 submarine squadrons caught the Dominion's main fleet near Saturn. The aliens had gathered their forces for a massive attack on Earth. Instead, they found themselves under attack from enemies they couldn't see. Thompson led the attack personally. Just like the old submarine wolf packs, he told his crews, "Hit them hard, hit them fast, don't give them time to think." The battle lasted 2 days. When it was over, the Dominion had lost 40% of their fleet. The path to Earth was now blocked by an invisible barrier of human submarines waiting in the darkness of space. In his command submarine, Thompson looked at the debris field that had once been the enemy fleet. "They never learned the most important lesson of warfare," he said to his crew. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution." Earth's forces began pushing outward beyond the solar system. The Dominion's empire was about to face an enemy that had turned their greatest weakness, their primitive technology, into their greatest strength. The war wasn't over, but everyone knew something had changed. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. They were winning. The old cargo ship floated dead in space, looking like just another victim of the war. Its hull was scared, its engines cold. A Dominion patrol approached it cautiously, their sensors detecting no power or life signs. That was exactly what Admiral Walker had planned. Inside the cargo ship, 100 elite soldiers waited in powered-down suits. They had been practicing this trick for months. Dr. Miller had called it the Trojan horse strategy, named after an ancient tale of warfare. Enemy ships approaching target, came the whispered report through secure channels. "They're taking the bait." The Dominion ships moved closer, their sensors probing the seemingly dead vessel. They had learned to be cautious after the submarine attacks, but they still relied too heavily on their technology. Now, Walker ordered. The cargo ship exploded outward, not from weapons, but from precisely placed charges that split the hull like a blooming flower. The soldiers inside, using simple jetpacks, spread out in every direction. Each carried what looked like an ordinary welding torch. Dr. Miller had discovered another Dominion weakness. Their ships' hulls, designed to withstand energy weapons and explosions, could be cut through with simple plasma torches. The aliens had never considered someone would try to breach their ships by hand. 30 seconds to contact, reported the mission commander. They haven't launched any countermeasures. The soldiers reached the Dominion ships before they could react. Their torches cut through the hulls like butter. Within minutes, they were inside. The alien crews, used to fighting ship-to-ship battles, had no defense against boarders. In orbit around a distant star, humanity's first major offensive beyond the solar system was succeeding. The Dominion had never faced an enemy that combined old and new tactics so effectively. Back on Earth, Dr. Miller's team worked on their next innovation. They had learned that the Dominion's rigid military doctrine was their greatest weakness. The aliens couldn't adapt to new situations quickly. Look at their battle records, Miller explained to Walker. They haven't changed their basic tactics in 300 years. They just build bigger ships with better weapons. Walker nodded, and we keep changing our tactics every week. They can't keep up. The next phase of the plan involved Earth's oldest military strategy: divide and conquer. Intelligence gathered from captured ships showed growing unrest within the Dominion. Many species were questioning their leaders' decisions. Human cargo ships, disguised as wreckage, were scattered across Dominion supply routes. Each one carried soldiers ready to board enemy vessels. The aliens began avoiding all debris fields, disrupting their own supply lines in the process. They're afraid of shadows now, Walker told his staff. Every piece of space junk might be a trap. Every damaged ship might be an ambush. The innovation war was taking its toll on the Dominion. Their ships traveled in large groups, burning fuel and resources. Their crews were exhausted from constant alerts. They had lost the initiative. Dr. Miller's team made another breakthrough. They found a way to use the Dominion's own communication systems against them. False signals and ghost ships appeared on alien sensors, making them waste time and resources chasing phantoms. We're not just fighting their ships anymore, Miller said. We're fighting their minds. Every trick makes them more paranoid, more likely to make mistakes. The strategy worked better than anyone expected. Dominion ships began firing at their own supply vessels, afraid they might be human traps. Their neat formations broke down as each captain tried to protect their own ship. In his command center, Walker watched the reports come in. Human forces were pushing deeper into Dominion space, using every trick and tactic in history. Old strategies combined with new technology in ways the aliens couldn't predict. They thought their advanced technology made them invincible, Walker said to his officers. Instead, it made them forget the basic truths of warfare. Never underestimate your enemy. Never stop adapting. Never think you know all the answers. The innovation war was changing the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. They were teaching the Dominion a lesson about the dangers of pride. The captured Dominion Communications Center floated in deep space, its hull marked with battle scars. Inside, Dr. Miller and his team worked frantically at alien control panels, using knowledge gained from months of studying their technology. "We're in," Miller announced, his fingers moving across the strange symbols. "Their entire communication network is open to us." The discovery had been accidental. During a routine boarding operation, human forces had captured not just a ship, but a vital communications hub. It was like finding the enemy's postal service and telephone system combined. Admiral Walker watched from the command ship nearby. "Send the message to all frequencies." The message was simple, broadcast in every language the Dominion used. "To all species under Dominion rule, we are not your enemy. Earth fights only those who attacked us. Join us and gain your freedom." In the following hours, chaos erupted across Dominion space. Species that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly realized they weren't alone in their desire for freedom. The Dominion's iron grip began to crack. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're getting responses. Dozens of them. Some of these species have been fighting a secret resistance for years." The first to respond were the traders, a species forced to handle the Dominion's logistics. They began sabotaging supply lines, using their knowledge of shipping routes to help human forces. Next came the builders, who maintained the Dominion's massive ships. They shared technical data that revealed critical weaknesses in enemy vessels. Each defection brought new allies, new knowledge, and new ways to fight. Walker coordinated with the growing resistance. The Dominion thought they could keep their empire in line through fear, he told his officers. Instead, they created an army of enemies just waiting for a chance to strike back. The Dominion's response was brutal but predictable. They began attacking their own worlds, trying to crush any sign of rebellion. This only pushed more species to side with Earth. Dr. Miller discovered something interesting in the communication logs. The Dominion's ruling species, he explained to Walker, they're not just arrogant, they're terrified. They've known for centuries that their empire could collapse if their subjects ever united. That fear became reality as more species joined Earth's cause. The Dominion's once mighty fleet had to split up, trying to maintain control over dozens of rebelling worlds. Their resources, stretched thin, began to break down. Commander Thompson's submarine fleet, now joined by ships from former Dominion species, struck at the heart of enemy territory. The aliens' rigid command structure couldn't handle attacks coming from so many directions. Report from the traders, an intelligence officer announced. The Dominion's leadership is evacuating their capital world. They're running. Walker gathered his commanders for the final phase of the war. Earth ships, now aided by a coalition of freed species, prepared to strike at the Dominion's core worlds. Each ally brought their own tactics, their own ways of fighting. "Look at what they created," Miller said, watching alien ships join the human fleet. "They spent centuries building an empire through fear and force. We broke it in less than a year by offering something simple: freedom." The coalition fleet gathered near the Dominion's home system. Ships of all shapes and sizes, from Earth's converted submarines to alien vessels piloted by rebel crews, waited for the signal to attack. The Dominion wanted war, Walker told the combined fleet. They thought they were starting a simple conquest. Instead, they started a revolution. As the fleet prepared for its final battle, the true cost of the Dominion's pride became clear. Their empire, built on technology and fear, was being destroyed by the very species they had looked down upon. Earth had done more than just defend itself. It had shown the galaxy that even the mightiest empire could fall if it forgot the simple truth. True strength comes not from technology, but from the will to fight for freedom. The final battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The final battle began at the heart of Dominion space. Earth's fleet, now joined by ships from 24 freed species, faced the remaining Dominion forces above their capital world. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Walker stood on his command ship's bridge, watching the enemy fleet form up. The Dominion had gathered every remaining ship, creating a wall of advanced technology between their homeworld and the approaching coalition. They still think they can win through superior technology alone, Walker said to his officers. "Let's show them what they never learned about warfare." Commander Thompson's submarines struck first, appearing from their hiding spots behind captured Dominion satellites. Their tungsten harpoons ripped through the enemy formation, creating gaps in their perfect lines. "All ships, execute Plan Thunder," Walker ordered. Earth's converted cargo ships, now piloted by mixed crews of humans and allied species, launched their attacks. Each vessel carried hundreds of boarding teams. The traders had provided exact blueprints of every Dominion ship class, showing where to cut through their hulls. Dr. Miller watched from the command center as his latest innovation went to work. Simple electromagnetic pulses, designed to match the frequency of Dominion shield systems, caused their defensive barriers to flicker and fail. Their shields are dropping across the entire fleet, Miller reported. They never thought to protect against basic electromagnetic interference. The Dominion fleet broke formation, trying to counter attacks coming from every direction. Their rigid battle doctrine, unchanged for centuries, couldn't adapt to the chaos of real combat. Message from their command ship, a communications officer announced. They're offering to surrender. Walker shook his head. After what they did to Earth, to all the worlds they conquered. No, they wanted war. Let's finish this. The coalition fleet pressed forward. Earth's submarines launched their final salvos. Boarding teams breached the massive Dominion command ships. Former slave species turned their knowledge against their old masters. In the space around the Dominion homeworld, centuries of empire building ended in hours. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for generations fell to primitive weapons and determined warriors. The Dominion's ruling council, trying to flee in hidden ships, found themselves caught by Thompson's submarines. Their vessels, designed for luxury rather than combat, offered no resistance. Ground teams have secured their capital city, Miller reported. Their leadership is in custody. It's over. Walker looked at the battle display one last time. The mighty Dominion fleet was now just debris floating in space. Their empire, built on arrogance and fear, had fallen to the very species they had dismissed as primitive. In the days that followed, representatives from Earth and the freed species gathered to decide the galaxy's future. The Dominion's leaders faced justice for centuries of oppression. What happens now? Miller asked Walker as they watched ships from dozens of species coming and going from Earth's orbit. Now comes the hard part, Walker replied. Building something better than what we destroyed. Earth emerged as a leader in the new galactic community, not through force or fear, but through respect earned in battle. Human innovations, combining old tactics with new technology, became standard training throughout the galaxy. The Dominion's former subjects formed their own alliance, with Earth as a founding member. They called it the Free Systems Coalition, dedicated to ensuring no empire would ever again threaten galactic peace. Commander Thompson's submarine tactics became required study at the new Coalition Defense Academy. Dr. Miller's team worked with scientists from other worlds, sharing knowledge rather than hoarding it. In the rebuilt Space Command Center, Walker looked at a hologram showing the known galaxy, where the Dominion had once ruled through fear. New trade routes and alliances now connected free worlds. They thought they were superior because of their technology, Walker said to his staff. They never understood that true strength comes from here. He pointed to his heart. From the will to fight for what's right, no matter the odds. The war that began with an ultimatum to Earth had ended with humanity helping to forge a new era of peace and cooperation. The galaxy had learned a vital lesson. Never underestimate those you think beneath you. They had wanted war. Humanity had delivered hell. And from that hell, a better galaxy had emerged.